On December 12th, tens of thousands of people marched through the streets of Copenhagen, Denmark, in protest for full agreement of nations during the climate conference. Demonstrators from around the globe took to the streets here on Saturday for the largest protest planned in 2 weeks of talks on a global strategy to combat climate change, and continuing the protest towards a concert at the Bella Center, where the majority of talks were being held between the nation's leaders. We asked spectators and protesters if they believe this march could truly affect the outcome of the talks.
Well, I don't know. I hope so, but at least it's important to show up and to show the world.
Organizers estimated that 60,000 to 100,000 participants joined a long march from Castle Square southward to the Bella Center.
Because we believe that climate change is a very urgent issue to be acted on, particularly for the benefit of people living in poor countries. The politicians who are meeting in the Bella Centre need to know that this is what their constituents, the people that they represent in the West, want. If they think there's a big enough movement of people demanding this, they'll feel emboldened to act. I think that's the idea.
Holding speeches in front of the Parliament building, multiple speakers were invited to show for the protests, such as Dr. Vandana Shiva, who urged the nation's leaders to make better decisions for the sake of the planet.
And telling the polluters, you've got to stop polluting. We want to tell you from before, when you arrive for your political circus, we will not be supporting you. We will not be cheering you.
The conference brought together a broad coalition of hundreds of environmental groups, human rights campaigners, climate activists, anti-capitalists, and freelance protesters from dozens of countries. Despite the positive tone of the march, Denmark police made their presence known, and protesters made theirs known as well. By mid-afternoon, the throng made its way over the canal and southward toward the Bella Center. The tone of the marchers stayed strong even as the temperature grew colder by nightfall.
We're here to support that they make a good deal to save the climate of the world, actually.
Well, what else can you do? You have no other choice, because you can vote at the elections, but here you can show together with other people that you really want this.
While the protesters converged near the Bella Center, police dealt with unrest in other sections of the city where spontaneous demonstrations by bands of radical protesters resulted in at least 950 arrests, police say. Protesters were then restrained with plastic cuffs, then bused to a detention center. Despite the amount of energy aimed towards encouraging delegates from around the world for a unanimously accepted deal, the outcome of the talks are still yet to be seen. This is Andre Lewis from City University.
What about freedom of the press, right? Yeah.